All right, so welcome everybody. We're about to close out 2020. New thing that I want to make sure that we do a great job on when it comes to training is understanding how to maximize every component of the income shifting strategy and specifically of your financial edge membership. Meaning, if we think about things, oh, by way of background, for those of you meeting me for the first time or listening to this recording because somebody sent it to you because you weren't able to join us here live in Zoom, I'm Richard Hardon, based in Atlanta, Georgia, blessed to be a district director with Making Wealth Real Financial, but I was not born a district director. I got started in business a lot like many of you, and I had to learn the processes for doing everything in income shifting. When we talk about income shifting, is three shifts that happen. Is first, shifting the way that we think, meaning by thinking differently about money, we're able to manifest different actions. And it is our actions that cause us to get different results. So as we go through today's conversation, my number one goal is education. I want you to know that you know what to do to get started in business, to create your financial success story, and then to help other people get started in business. Saw that remix with me on the echo.
That was me. That was me.
Have other people get started with you in the membership, and then from there help them create their financial success stories. And that is how we create the success cycle. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the first thing is just understanding that we need a blueprint, because here's the exciting thing about what we do in our business is actually systematic, that we can create success with anyone in any financial situation. And the most important thing that we got to do is start well and stay on plan. Does that make sense? So I'm dropping a link into our chat just in case you don't have a hard copy of the MWR, our roadmap to making wealth real, because that's our goal, is to make wealth real for anybody that chooses to. And let me change one setting here so that as people come in, they won't necessarily disrupt, but you will be able to unmute yourselves. If I find myself going fast or you find yourself getting lost in what I've said, we can back up to that step. Does that make sense? So again,
Yes.
drop into the chat, our roadmap to making wealth real. I'm going to fly through the document itself because the purpose of today is to make sure that we max out all of the maxes. And by the way, flying through the blueprint actually helps you max out the maxes. Does that make sense?
You watch that part. It's the training
Right.
part.
So as we get started, hey, Bruce, as we get started, everybody that's got the document paper printed out beside you, just hold it up so that people know this is our operating system. This is how we help new people launch their businesses, so that this isn't made up. It's not theory. You don't have to make up your own marketing plan. You don't even have to think of what words to say. We're teaching step by step, word for word, how to build yourself, your financial education, and your business all at the same time. So when you get started in the business, you'll get this document and you'll want to get a printed copy. Now, let me share from my screen so that you can see the part of the document that I'm saying when I'm talking about it. All right, let me know on your end when you can see my screen on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so at the very top, here's the thing that I want you to be focused on. The most important part in any business is starting and staying. If you just start well and stay plugged in, you'll get to the place where you share with confidence. But here's what we got to do. When you start, the person that enrolled you will have sent you a link. You click on that link, at the end of it, it will generate your link for you. My best recommendation for everybody is make your website simple. mwrfinancial.com/first name, last name. mwrfinancial.com. I know you are blessed and highly favored in the Lord, but you got to make it short and so that people can remember. And the most important person that has to remember is you. Number two, write your password. I'm not going to say I need your password to log in, but you need your password to log in. And you would not believe, Anthony, how many people get to me saying, I was trying to get up my Financial Edge membership, but I forgot my password.
Yeah, I understand.
Write it down. Write it down. It's okay. But here's the central equation. The most important thing to understand about what we do is the equation in the middle. Now, those of you that know me know that I am a math nerd. I love math. Math helps me make sense of things and gives me ways to remember how to calculate where I want to go. But the main formula, remember, exposure plus education plus execution. Say those things: exposure plus education plus execution minus explanations and minus emotions equals enrollment. Now I'm break down my terms just so that people know. Exposure. We are in show business. Everybody say show business.
Show business.
No business.
What does that mean? We show people the business, but it's different than what most people think. It doesn't mean that once you get excited about income shifting, your job is to go around and explain income shifting to everyone. It is to expose, to allow them to see it, ideally by someone other than you. Write that in your notes. Let other people see you using the process. Expose, that's expose. So what kind of things count for exposure? Well, my favorite type of exposure right now because of COVID is Zoom. Why do I like Zoom? Because I can start it from right here in the comfort of my home with safety. I can know when they got on and when we got off, and they can leave room for questions, interactions, and they can meet other people. Now, when outside opens back up, I'm going to have the biggest house party ever. That will also be an exposure, but that's a different time. My second favorite website, howtoshiftyouриncome.com. Full presentation done by someone else, but the more you expose, the more people see the business, more eyes looking at what we do because you invited them to, the more money you make. Now, the second element is education. Turns out that what we are in, I know a lot of people look at our home business and say, well, it's just network marketing. You're just a network marketing business. I've been in network marketing for years, but I've never been in a business like this because we're in the education business. Meaning that, imagine this. If somebody comes to an income shifting conversation, learns the tax structures and strategies, they can still implement income shifting without ever joining our network. Education is what attracts people to us and keeps people from running from us. Because think about this. How many of you had one of those, your friends ask you if you want to be in a travel or fragrance or jewelry business?
Yes.
You either bought the product or you didn't, but without the education, you either wanted it or you didn't want it. But with education, especially in an economy like we're in right now, you got to understand, people are hungry to know something different and better than what we were taught in school. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then the third E is execution. Execution. Actually use the strategies. Like, I think that the reason that I'm so excited about what we're able to do for people is because I use the strategies on my own money and they have been life-changing for me. Meaning, just in a short period of time, using a Financial Edge membership, we were able to get a $1,200 raise from our job, right? We're able to knock out $50,000 in credit card debt. We're able to pay off a rental house, increase our credit score above 800, which lets us save 700. It's $5,000 a month in cash flow change that happened once I started giving myself the edge. So that's even before I started making the money that the comp plan pays. Everybody understand that's excitement? Because they don't know it's not happening for me. Something like that can happen for other people. And then minus explanations, and minus emotions. Now, let me look at you in the eyeball when I say this part right here. I know that I teach a simple sentence for inviting people to look at the business. Have you ever heard of income shifting? Everybody practice it. Have you ever heard of income shifting? Somebody's heard me say those words, right?
Yes.
Here's the thing. When people say no, that doesn't mean you explain. That means you invite.
Okay.
You get it? Have you ever heard of income shifting? Somebody say no.
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 Man, listen, everybody needs to learn these strategies. It's the secrets of the wealthy. They weren't taught in school. We're having an income shifting conversation this evening where I'm working with the Michael Jordan of income shifting. He's going to break down step for step, word for word, what this all means. You want to sit in and learn with me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many of you know that I can explain income shifting?
Yes.
Yes.
You know that I can, but I don't. We're inviting first, allowing them to have their own process where not only do they hear the concept, but also see people getting the result. And then the last thing, minus emotions. How many of you know that emotions are the number one thing that will knock you out of this business or any other business?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it turns out because we're in the people business, we tend to get more emotionally attached than we would about any other transaction we'd be involved in. I'll give you a case in point. How many of you know what the most rejected profession is in the world?
Sales.
Try waitress.
Mm.
Man, that's the worst. I agree.
But understand, they get rejected all the time for asking simple questions. Would you like some more water? Can I get you some dessert? Can I get you something else? Can I get you a drink? No, we're fine. No, thank you. Maybe later. No. Does she quit and throw down her apron and her note pad because people don't want some water or a drink or dessert?
Wow.
Nope.
No, she's not emotionally attached. She just goes on to the next table and the next question.
I love that, Richard.
Wow.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
That was a good answer.
That was great, man.
So thank you.
Thank you.
We're working on this because it's all perspective. But if you get the equation down, if you know that our job is exposure plus education, if somebody rejects the education, that's just them volunteering to marinate in their own ignorance. So that's why I get excited about teaching, right? And then, but or not, I'm doing the financial edge. I got my debt-free plan. My Credit Max team is working on my credit got me a raise, and a tax bot helps me every day. Whatever they do, I was just exposing it by educating, and I'm executing. And then if I remove the emotions, remove my responsibility for explaining when I'm new, that's when we get enrollments. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And y'all know my favorite acronym when it comes to the business and the invitation. What is it? KISS.
Keep it simple.
Keep
Shout
it
it simple.
Shout it.
Shout it.
So the next thing, once you understand that's the background, what I do ask people to do up front is set a goal up front in terms of dollars, an actual dollar amount of how much this business needs to make per month to make it worthwhile for them. And I say, don't start with $1, start with the reason. Meaning, I'm building this business, number one, because I want to make sure that my parents are able to live the rest of their lives. My dad's already left us, but I still got one parent left on a fixed income. And that means permanently repaired, where there's nothing they can need that we can't do. Two, for our legacy, for making sure that our kids know that there's a better way to do it than working for your whole life, paying bills and dying. And then three, because I am tired of those people at the job telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So once you know why, what has you, why is the most important question you can ever ask yourself when it comes to this business. Once you know your reason, you can back into your number. You need to quit your job? Look at how much money your job pays. If it's $4,000 a month, all we have to do is back into the comp plan and figure out how many people we have to help to make an extra $4,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month. It's all in the comp plan. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that little part, I mean, I know everybody sees the big document with all the circles and the people and the maxes and the things. Those 4 lines are the most important part of the whole roadmap. Because if you know why, the how and the what don't matter nearly as much. You know, there's nothing I won't do for Bertie Hardon. Y'all know my mama, she's special. Man, all right. So questions about the most important part of the document. Now, here's a question I have for you. How many of you have all of those lines filled out on your document right now? You've got your website, your password, your dollars per month goal. Because here's the thing. I do find often, because this is a first business for a lot of people, they'll say, I don't know what number to put for my goal. How many of you but you don't have to raise your hand, but if you said those words to me, just raise your eyebrows. Les Brown said that if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it dead on every time.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So if you don't have a goal, I'll set 3 goals for you. First, pays for itself goal. That's $150. That's just how fast we get you to a team of 3. That's the easiest goal. Second goal, $2,000 a month. Why? $2,000 will not retire you unless you're already retired. So Gwen, you could retire again if you got the $2,000 a month, right? But what $2,000 a month extra part-time from an investment that you made to pay $228 to build gives you permission to tell people to shut up.
Mm.
There's nobody that can talk to you about their return on investment if you invested $228,000 a month. There's nothing they're going to get on the stock market. There's not a business that they built that has that 1,000-fold return. But that's what we're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you don't have a goal, put 2,000 over there. If you do have a goal, put that number over there. Make sure to ask yourself every day, is what I did today building me to the place where I'm worth that amount of money per month? And then you can just check, did I expose, did I educate, did I execute, and did I leave out the explanations and the excuses? Good stuff?
Yes.
All right. So now this is the next part. This is why I'm here today. So those are your 3 goals right there. 150 a month, 600 a month, then 2,000 a month. This is what we're going to focus on today. Your maximizing the financial edge membership. Money Max, Credit Max, Equity Max, and Wealth Max. With the Financial Edge membership, I think too often, because we have it, I wasn't sharing my screen when I said that, was I? Y'all got to tell me those kind of things. Middle part. So once we get the top part down, the checklist. Money Max, Credit Max, Equity Max, and Wealth Max. Now, these 2 things we're going to handle separately. They're your business building behaviors, meaning we're going to have 2 private Zooms for you at least twice a week until you hit senior director, and you're doing 2 private Zooms for someone else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Well, that makes sense, yeah. When you get to advanced training, when you get to senior director, you'll know exactly what I mean. But Money Max, Credit Max, Equity Max, and Wealth Max. Now, I will pause right here to say the Financial Edge membership is simple. It's designed to be simple. It's designed to put us in a place where we have the team going to work, helping us put our money back in our pockets. Now, when you get started in the business, I do have the suggested order that I went in when I got started, and I will suggest the same thing for you. Is going from top to bottom. Max, Equity Max, Credit Max, Wealth Max in that order. But I do want to paint a picture for just to think about how often we do things. So let's see. Let me pause before I share my screen and say this up front. I've come to understand a lot more since I got the Financial Edge membership is how money moves through our lives. Meaning, if you think about your income taxes, before we got started with Make Wealth Real Financial, how often did your income tax picture change? Answer, once a year. Once a year, you got to settle up accounts, and you either owe them or they owe you, right?
Right.
Once a year is how often your income tax picture changes. Credit. Your credit changes about once a month. Now, there's 3 different bureaus and they update at different times, but the information that goes into your credit report updates once a month, right? So what does that mean? We should be accessing the things that impact our credit score once a month. It's not an everyday thing. If you sit over here watching your credit, your smart credit max indicator, that is like watching water boil. But if you know the two things, because there's two areas and I'm going to go into those things every 30 days. So Money Max, the instant pay raise strategy one, that's a once a year thing. Once you get the tax bot, now you have the ability to change your tax picture every day. I forgot to say that, so you'll see that in a second. Credit Max once a month is about how often you need to deal with Credit Max. And Equity Max is on the same scale. It's once a month because that's about how often you pay your debt bills, right? Once a month or twice a month, depending on how you're doing your budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wealth Max is kind of like the best way to do Wealth Max is what I call. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
The easiest way to do investment is automatically, meaning you set aside a portion. The book that I'm reading right now is called The Richest Man in Babylon. Has anybody ever read that book?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you should read it. It's an old classic. It's old. It was written like in the 1920s or something. But one of the first rules is that a portion of everything I make is mine to keep. So one of the things that we did with our budget was we set aside a certain percentage that went to investments first. See, the mistake most people make is they build their budget and they plan to save or invest what's left. Wealthy people invest first and then they spend what's left. All right. So let's jump into the financial edge, and I'll go quickly through the things that I think are quick, but if we hit a snag, so here's what I want you to do. We'll save questions for all the maxes till the end so that I get everything in one recording, but then we'll come back and go one at a time through each one of the financial edge components. And if there's anything you had a question about that you hadn't asked somebody to ask me. I might know, or I might not, and we might have a question for somebody together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so financial edge. You get your membership. Does everybody else's financial edge look like this when they get to it? Get to the home screen, you drop down, all the services are right there lined up in order. Money Max, Credit Max, Equity Max, Wealth Max. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Money Max is the easiest to get started if you have your house in order in terms of tax. I think my friend Natasha Johnson was the fastest person to send in her instant pay raise stuff because she's really organized. So she had all her taxes and the pay stubs right there. She uploaded everything. But to do Money Max, to qualify for the instant pay raise, what you do is simply upload your pay stub, your spouse's pay stub, and your last tax returns. And that's all. They go to work building the W-4. Now, here's the things that I should caution people about up front. It's based on your personal tax situation, meaning, oh, by the way, people, this is funny, Anthony. Sometimes people did not know where the upload center was. You just scroll down to the bottom. It's down there. The instructions will tell you it's there, but if you didn't know, they're down there. Based on your current and previous tax situation, they look at exactly how much you should pay. So there's a possibility that you will, there's a very strong likelihood, by the way, that if you got a refund last year, you'll get a pay raise this year. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you owed in taxes last year, they may suggest that you pay more up front because the goal of the instant pay raise process is actually get you to where you owe, where the IRS owes you $1.
Right.
Right? So
Yep.
it's to make you tax efficient, just knowing how bad an investment. You got to understand the amount of money that we have sitting around in refunds with the IRS earning no interest is possibly the worst investment that most people make, but they continue to make it because it's usually the biggest check that they get. We got to change that part of the narrative so that people know that this is possible. So that's
Yep.
strategy one. Second thing, business owners. Hey, if this is your first time in business, you're a business owner. If you were already in business before we got started, you're a business owner. Adding the MW to your portfolio gives you the best opportunity to take advantage of the home-based business advantage. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Meaning, how many of you know? Let's think about somebody like Kim Flint. Like Kim had a beauty parlor, right? That was her business. In her business, she could only deduct things that were in her place of business. But adding MWR Financial meant also that she could deduct a portion of her home and her travel back and forth, even the business use of her place of business for this business. Does that make sense? Strategy
Yes.
2, TaxBot helps with that part. Now, to get started with TaxBot is really straightforward. Now, let me make sure that we say this up front. Sign up for TaxBot on your MWR website first. Sign up for TaxBot on your MWR website first. Somebody else say it.
Sign up for tax
Sign up for
bot.
tax
Go
bot.
to MWR
MWR
Website.
website.
website first.
And then somebody type it in chat so that we have an archive that's what I said. Because if you went to get TaxBot out in the wild, meaning you just went to the App Store or the Google Play Store, you signed up for TaxBot on the free trial, at the end of 30 days, they're going to ask you for $99 a month.
Right.
But TaxBot is included for free as a part of our membership. It's one of the best, but also one of the most expensive apps on the App Store. It's included in our membership. Now, when you sign up for it, all 4 of the steps that you have to do are right here on the left, or if you click the Get Started button right here. Can y'all hear that? Did you hear it? If you click Get Started, it'll actually talk you through the instructions for TaxBot. But once you set it up here, now in my particular case, I'm so in awe of TaxBot because of something Charles Ivory and I talked about, I guess it was back in the summertime. It's your star player. Your goal is to make money in this business.
Right.
But even if you take a paper, the things that you get to write off, if you document well with TaxBot, will generally put you in a place where you'll make about 600, equivalent 72, about $8,000 in what you can deduct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
The TaxBot app, I guess I'll make a slide for this so that I tell people the things that I did. Turn on auto enable mileage tracking. That's step 1. So first step, sign up on your website. Second, download it to the app and log in with the login that you created on your MWR website. Third step, auto enable mileage tracking. One of the biggest deductions available for home-based business users is mileage. In 2020, we make 56.5 cents per mile. So imagine just me driving to my mama's house and back, my mama's and a business partner. That's about a $50 trip. And if you're not tracking your miles, just every mile that you drive down the road, throw $1 out the window. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Second thing, just make a practice. Say these words. Can I get a receipt, please? Can I get a receipt, please? Make sure that every server that you ever see gets asked the question, have you ever heard of income shifting? You'll be surprised how many have not and don't want to, and that you don't care, because we're not emotional about this. They asked that I want some water. I asked if they heard about income shifting. Fair is fair. Take a picture of the receipt, because your meals and expenses, now a percentage of those will be tax deductible. Make sense? Your whole membership. Oh, by the way, in the background, you can link your TaxBot to your business account. I suggest having a separate business account, especially once you get over $20 a day. Once you got $600 a month coming in, you should separate out that treatment so that it's easier for you to track what's your business expense versus your personal expense. Am I making sense? Because the goal, meals, entertainment, internet, cell phone, all of those things make deductions available for you, but you've got to have accurate records in an IRS approved format. But it's so much better to have them in TaxBot than to have, where's that bag? We got our 2017, well, can you see on the table over there? Those are all the receipts from 2017 when I didn't have TaxBot. Trying to remember everything that we paid for, everybody got paid on PayPal and Cash App is stressful. You fix it and forget it. Does that make sense? Best cadence. I'm not saying you got to spend all day on TaxBot, but spend a little bit of time every day at the end just syncing up the things that happen. Matter of fact, I logged all my trips to the Alabama-Florida game yesterday. Sitting down, swipe, swipe, swipe. Questions on TaxBot and Instant Pay Raise and MoneyMax. Everybody good? Okay. Oh, that's right. You're being good. You said you would let me save questions to the end, but those are strategies 1 and 2. And because taxes is such a big bill for us, you've got to make sure to have your records in order so that it's not crunch time trying to figure out and remember when. I will do it later. I mean, how many of you have ever said that sentence? I'll do it
Yes.
later. And isn't that the number one cause of the most problems you have with money?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get to it later. I'll do it later. Later's not on the calendar. Let's do it now. Do it now as we go. All right. So second, let's talk about credit max and maxing out credit max. Now, how many of you have used credit max and smart credit? Because if you think about the two things, so let me share the systems, because here's one of the things that I want to make sure that we know for ourselves why we are better than whatever the person that they're talking to is doing when it comes to credit repair. Credit repair versus credit restoration. What does credit repair do? Credit repair, in its base terms, goes to work disputing what is being reported negatively about you. It works on fixing the portion of your credit score, which is your credit history. How many of you know you can't change history?
Yes.
You can't change history, but if you have a good team, they can change what is reported about your history.
Yeah.
I like that.
But now
Wow.
restoration has to go beyond repairing history. We also have to restore and build new behavior. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
In the 4 parts of credit max: credit reports and scores, credit restoration, credit rebuilding, and in severe cases, credit counseling are all a part of the membership. For most that, because I do a lot of work with real estate agents like Stephanie and Natasha, where they'll refer people to me that were not able to qualify for a home. And I don't do credit repair. I tell them up front, I do credit coaching. If you want to do credit coaching with me, it'll cost you about $100 a month. You'll need $79 for your Financial Edge membership and $20 for reports and monitoring with Smart Credit. Now, how many of you have clicked the button for Smart Credit and said, wait, why is this extra? Anybody ever do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I did too. I just had enough money where I was nosy enough to see, well, why does MWR recommend Smart Credit? And it's because of the things that it does. Meaning with Smart Credit, now, disclosure, I'm about to tell you my business. But in this way, just so that you get to see why I pay and why when I'm buying something with a credit goal, I recommend it for them too. So if anybody's trying to buy a house in 6 months or a year, here's a simple God's honest truth. You can't win the game if you don't know the score and don't know how to accumulate points. Right? I mean, it is football season, right?
It makes
If
sense.
people didn't know how to get a touchdown, could they win?
No.
Not against somebody that knew. So that's what Smart Credit allows us to do. It lets us get a snapshot of credit every 30 days. So when I log in, there's 3 sets of tools that are the primary ones that I coach on. Now, you can tell I've squeezed every point out of Smart Credit that I can get. Meaning right now, my credit score is at 805, right? Score Builder says there are no other points that they can get me from removing negative items from my credit history. There is 1 point that I can do with Score Master by doing things that I can do. So if you think about the 3 tools in Smart Credit, Number one, score tracker lets you know what your score is and what it was so that you can predict and plan when you'll pay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Score
Yes.
builder actually tells you things that our team can do for you to remove negative items from your credit history. And score master tells you what you can do in terms of your bills and bill payment, increase your credit score, or what the impact of a purchase would be to your credit score. So in my world, when I started with MWR, now, by the way, well, let me make sure to say this up front. My credit score is an 800 right now. I was able to refinance this house this year, but 5 years ago when I went to refinance this house, I got rejected because my credit score was 616. Now, the worst part about my credit score being 616 wasn't that it was 616. I didn't know that it was 616. Anybody ever been in that position where you say, I don't know what my credit score is, but it's bad?
Yes.
At least just knowing is half the G.I. Joe. And G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle. First thing you got to do is know what the score is. And then the second thing is knowing what can be done about it. Because it's a bad credit score, even if you got a bad credit score, that's a bruise, not a tattoo. But with Score Tracker, it lets me know where I was. So once I started understanding credit, started applying some of the principles, started using the financial education and paying debt off, that did help me get to where by the time I got to MWR, I was at lowest score 774 on the highest, because Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian do have different scores. They started working with me. They got me up here to an 810. This is where I financed the house. Now, here, whenever you make a big purchase, that's called a hard inquiry. Your score is going to drop a little bit, right? We refinanced the house. The next month, score went down, but they got us right back up here to 810. And so over the summer, we bought a car. We added a timeshare, and we added another card. Oh, and then we paid all the cards off. That, by the way, that is the worst point in my credit score right here. I'd actually paid off everything. It turns out that it's better if you have 1% balance on your credit cards than 0.
Mm-hmm.
It's a racket. They want you to have some dirt on your credit, but then they got me back up to 810. This was in November. This is when they removed the last negative item from the score, but they also break down your score in terms of you have a different credit score for overall credit versus your auto score versus your insurance score. It lets you know the detail where you are and what type of values you should get on insurance versus that, because most people don't know that your credit score does influence the cost of insurance, along with your ability to get certain jobs. So just knowing what things count in that score, how you look, and just making sure that if it's going to count, it might as well count for you, especially if you got help. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Second tool is Score Builder, and the team usually measures in what you call 120-day increments, meaning they'll set a goal for the day that you start, and over the course of that 120 days, they'll go through a set of on the back end. I'll show you how to get them doing it versus you doing the actions yourself, because I do say use the team of professionals. Let them do this. But what they say is the best thing that you can do is just stay aware and keep everything going, because you have no negative accounts reported. Now, does that mean I'd have no negative accounts ever?
No.
No.
No. They did. Do I know what they did? No. I just know they did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the last tool when it comes to your credit score is the Score Master. What does it allow you to do? Well, as its name implies, you get to decide things, what can happen on my credit score. Now, like I told you, we don't carry much of a balance on our credit cards anymore. But if I pay off my balance, which I just did, it's just that they report at a different time, that'll add a point, right? But if I spend $30,000 on a car, it'll drop me 36 points. Just imagine the control that you can have in your purchasing, just knowing this is how much I can spend and what effect it will have on me. And for people that have more revolving cards, this is one of the places I find myself coaching the customers that the real estate agents send me most often is, well, you should use our Equity Max system to prioritize paying off these 5 things. That'll get you 40 points this month. And they never seen or known, because it does tell you when this creditor reports to the, am I making sense so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the last thing, these are some things that I got that I love that I didn't know I could have. In Smart Credit, you do have this $1 million identity fraud insurance. It covers your whole family so that somebody else doesn't go steal your identity. It does allow you to set up alerts so that any spending on any of the accounts that you set up, it can text or email you just to let you know what's happening, where it's happening, and you can have it linked to your phone. And then the money manager, whole nother level, won't go into it today, but it also lets you get up to the minute net worth reporting, meaning under the covers, let me say what it's doing. Under the covers in Money Manager, you can link up all of your deposit accounts, all of your credit bureau accounts, and all of your investment accounts so that you've got one place to go to get your full financial picture. Because how are you going to add an extra digit to your net worth if you don't know what it is? Aha. Thank you. All right, so that was Credit Max. Third, Equity Max. Even though this is the fastest result that we get, it's probably the most important thing that we can do. Because if you think about your credit score, we did the lesson on credit with Chantel and Stephanie on Friday. 35% of your credit score is your credit history, right? So that's not all with Credit Max. I almost forgot the most important thing about Smart Credit. Let me show it. Every 30 days with Smart Credit, you get your 3 bureau credit report. So with your Smart Credit report, it lets you navigate through your report. But with the Smart Credit, every 30 days, bureau report from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Every 30 days, I take the credit report from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and I upload it to the upload center. Does everybody see my screen? Am I sharing that?
Sure.
You got to tell me when I'm not following kindergarten rules. What's the kindergarten rule?
Sure.
Share.
Your friends. Share with your friends. Okay.
Fair, that's fair.
But what I do is I save the credit report, 3 bureaus every 30 days, and then I upload it to the center. Now, here's what happens. By the way, the uploads that you have to send when you start with Credit Max, you need to send your driver's license, your 3 bureau credit report, and you have to do the profile that's up top. And then what will happen next? Here's what will happen. TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax will send you letters. Do you know what you have to do with those letters? Nothing.
Upload them.
Just upload them and let the team know what they said, and they will continue to work on your behalf every month, every 30 days. I just got it in my system that every 30 days I upload mine, I upload Nikki's, and then anything that they respond, I send them those things to. I just sent them something last night that TransUnion sent to Nikki, right? That's how you get the experts working on your behalf and keep them working on your behalf every 30 days. And it gives you that rhythm of now I'm checking in so that I know where I am and what progress I'm making. I know what I can do. And by the way, they are really responsive about this chat. Let's see, they're off hours right now. But if you have questions about things that don't make sense or that you see, text them, chat with them, ask the questions that you need answered so that they still know what work you need. Now, also point out a couple of quick tools in terms of credit rebuilding, because I do find people more and more often that even with the team working to remove negatives, they need to build some new credit. Does that make sense? So one of the ways, especially for people that are in that home buying process, one of the most important things we can do for them is get their rent added to what's reported for their credit. Meaning, think about it. If you rent right now, is your rent your biggest bill?
Yeah. Yes.
And isn't it the one that you're guaranteed to pay first?
Yep.
Yes.
But the credit bureau gives you no credit for that unless it's reported. So rent reporting usually adds another 30 to 40 points. Sometimes now, y'all know me. How do I feel about debt? I hate it. I hate it. You know,
We say that debt is the new free.
yeah, debt free is a new free. So I'm antagonistic about creating debt to build credit, but in some cases, just having some new revolving credit. And when I say revolving credit, that's a credit card. Is not new revolving credit where you have a new revolving credit at a high balance and you're back on the hamster wheel. Is where you've got new revolving credit and you're keeping that balance close to zero. I mean, close to 1%. 1% is what you want on there. No more. I know they say 50 to 70%. No, 1%. I don't want all them. All right. Why? Because debt free is a new free. Thanks for sharing that, Gwen. You were absolutely right, because that takes us to the next thing. We'll jump into Equity Max. Equity Max, the debt elimination strategies, both sides are focused on the debt-free lifestyle first, because it was a thing that it was the first result I actually got in MWR. Meaning I submitted my documents to Money Max and I realized waiting around for them to email me a W-4 wasn't that intelligent. And I'd uploaded my credit report, also realized it was going to take that some time. Equity Max, you get a day one result. Again, disclosure. Equity Max is going to tell you the truth. What do we say about the truth, Anthony?
You said too free.
Uh-oh, he's saying it with parentheses.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I heard you say that at first it'll set you free, but at
The
first
truth
it'll
will
piss
set
you off.
you free, but first it'll piss you off. And I think, you know, in a very real way, I think we got to get a little bit upset about what our creditors have planned for us in order for us to consistently remember to take action. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
with Equity Max, it's a two-step process. Now, when you're brand new, you won't have the green buttons that I have down here. You'll just have this Get Started button. How many of you have clicked the Get Started button and already done your interview? Show of hands, thumbs up if you already done it. If you haven't, I'll click on it so that you see what it looks like. But it actually walks you through an interview where it says, do you have any mortgages? Do you have any other debts? And it asks you for your principal balance, your interest rate, your minimum payment, and your current actual payment in the event that you're overpaying. I was overpaying every bill. That was my strategy at first, Anthony. I was like, I want to get them all out of here, so I'm paying everybody an extra $100. But with the worksheet, what you'll do is you put in all the bills. By the way, this is the car that we bought in June. Everybody see it?
Yes.
Bought a car, put 5,000 down, carried 17 in a note. And, you know, most of our debts at this point, because the credit cards are already gone. Every time I pay off a bill, I add it to this margin down here at the bottom. So when I got the pay raise, that $1,272 went to my additional margin. When we paid off the credit cards, that extra 1,000 went to the margin. We paid off the car, that went to the margin. Am I making sense? Additional margin is just the extra cash flow you produce per month toward your debt payment plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can tell I spent way too much money for kids to go to college. And if I had to do it all over again, I would buy 2 more houses and they would go to state school in Georgia. All right. But once you've entered all into your Equity Max calculator, it does an analysis for you that breaks down the payment plan. So here's the reality. This is the best part for me, is just being aware of what the creditor's plan was. Because think about this, it's the same, well, it was $750,000. So I'm excited about how that's going down, but it's the same amount of money that we owe and the same amount of money plus margin. But it says that now with our creditor's plan, we would have been paying for another 24 years. Now we'll be debt-free in 7 years and 7 months with this plan, meaning as my cash flow increases, I will add more to margin. How many of you would do the same thing?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Us free. It tells you what amount of interest you would have paid. So in my case, we would have $76,000 more in interest paying by the creditor's plan. And then it does flip. It says that after you get debt free in July 2028, you start investing that same amount of cash in the bank. You'll be at 50,000 by the end of that year, 250,000 in 10 years, debt-free millionaire, no less than 14 years. And by the way, that's the plan, that's assuming that we're getting 3% on the money. Does everybody see that that's what goes over there? It's 3% is what's driving that number.
Yes.
But especially if we're using Wealth Max, if you got a private reserve account that's earning 12% or 14%, is more and faster. Making sense? Now so that's the good news is they lay out the plan summary up top, but at the bottom is the implementation plan. Because I don't know if you know what it sounds like when a spreadsheet curses at you, Anthony, but that's what it sounded like when I put in the car that we bought in June. It said, what? It said, they want you to pay that off in 5 years at this interest rate. You'll pay this much in interest. Equity Max said, pay it off in 5 months. I got mad too, so we paid it off in 4 months. The car that we bought in June, we paid off in September.
Wow.
Right? And it tells you what bill to pay and in what order. So very next, it said, get rid of this, and then this and this. But here's the kicker. We said that your debt moves. So every 30 days, your Equity Max system will generate a statement for you. How do you use it? You sit down with your bills and it tells you for this month to stay on our plan. Here's who you write and what you write to them. This is the exact payment that you need to make just to continue keeping up our plan so that you're paid off. Has everybody been checking your monthly statement against your debt-free plan?
No.
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 Statement generates every month on the 25th. 25th or thereabout. I think 25th was a holiday, but right around the 25th, you'll get a new statement that is this statement, my November statement, is my instructions for how to make sure that I'm debt-free by July of 2034, the payments that I need to make, and who I need to pay. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how you max out Equity Max on that end. And then the second part of Equity Max that they just introduced was Bill Shredder. And with Bill Shredder, it's also pretty straightforward. You get a bill, you upload it, they take a commission for the amount of the deduction that they get you. But the way that I figure is if I was going to pay the bill anyway, says I got to go do something else about my Verizon wireless bill. Good thing I logged in here. But like I told you, I put in Comcast. Comcast had me under contract until December. So I'm on hold with that until December. Vivint, they renegotiated. They saved me 75% off this bill. So $280 total. And then they are already scheduled for when that promotion is over to go in and renegotiate in June. And then apparently I have to contact them about Verizon. The thing about these websites, they will email you if they need something. I'm not that great about email these days. How about you? So every month, in on the portal so that you know where you stand on Equity Max and credit. And then the last one is Wealth Max. Now, I'll only do a very broad overview of the Wealth Max process because of how different it is. It is worth taking the time to understand what you have when it comes to Wealth Max. Because with Wealth Max, you have to schedule a consultation. Everybody's situation is going to be somewhat different, and you do need to have your financial house in order, meaning you need to know how much you've got coming in, how much you've got going out, how much margin you have. So this is your cash flow statement. By the way, we'll teach cash flow statements a different day, but how much you've got coming in, how much you've got going out, what you think you have available for investments, but also how much you owe. One of the things that you'll find about Wealth Max is that they actually do follow the same system. Like when I teach Get Your Financial House in Order, let's do that again this week. How's that? They do want to make sure that you have your emergency fund in place because you are too risky. It's too risky to you to invest if you don't have a proper or adequate emergency fund. The second thing that they'll also focus on is, do you have any debts with a double-digit interest? Because that's probably a better investment than anything that you could do to make money. Understand? You know what I mean? Like at one point, I was trying to invest in rental real estate, right? I was maxing out my 401k, and I had a $25,000 credit card limit and a $23,000 balance. Now, looking back, I can say, that's stupid. But at the time, I was doing the best that I could with what I knew because I didn't have anyone to point out that I was paying way more to the credit card company in interest than I could ever make to the money that I was putting in my 401k. So it would have been actually in my best interest to suspend that investment plan while I invested in getting my behind out of debt, especially credit card debt. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Wealth Max, when you get together, my Wealth Max advisor, you've seen him on some of our sessions, is Eric Elam. Wealth Max does a comprehensive consultation where they look at where you are in life. Because the other thing I wish is that I was still young. I'm younger than I'll be tomorrow, but I'm not 29. Because investments, the longer your time horizon is, the more time your money has to make money for you. So they'll look at your current investments, their projections, all of the things that are there, and come up with a plan that gets you to your goals, especially if they know that you understand them. All right. So with that was my planned coverage, and I'm right at time. See, look at me, right at an hour. Look at God. That is good stuff.
Look at God.
So what we covered was the first part of just getting your business started, because our methodology hasn't changed. I know there's some new and cool things that we can do, but our system is still simple. You start, you share, and you stay. As starts with you starting your business, but starting to put the experts to work to help your business be funded by getting you your money back from all those other people. Then it's easy to share your success. You share your story, you share the Zooms, you share the invitation for people to learn about income shifting and how it's changed your life. And then if you stay plugged in, you can't help but win. All right. So with that, I'm going to end the recording. That's all you get for looking at it after the fact, but I will open up. Let's time box our questions. Let me stop the recording right there. Okay. Everybody say bye-bye to the people that are in recording land. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.